Hi everyone, this is Kelly from The Truth and Story, and today I want to show you a deck that I've actually had a lot of fun working with, I'll explain in a moment. This is a deck that was sent to me by the creator Angie Green to do a review of, and it is called A Simple Tarot. Now I wanted to just show you the packaging because I actually thought, just as somebody who has done decks and intends of doing more decks, I really liked this box where you kind of had just simply the title on, then you had your postage on the back. I thought that was a nice touch, unless you're trying to sneak a deck in and don't want somebody in your household to know that you had it. And so it comes with, it came with the deck. In the box. I'll show you how it was packaged in a second. It comes with a little guidebook here, the Simple Tarot Deck Companion Guidebook by Angie Green. And then we have some other things here, but it was all wrapped up in tissue paper with the sticker, The Simple Tarot. So I just thought the outer packaging was actually really lovely. We'll get to the deck in 1 second. We have the Simple Tarot, a beginner deck with keywords. So this is a deck that is created, or certainly its audience would be for a new beginner to tarot who wants to learn the keywords and learn the meanings of the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot system. And so we have a card here. We have a couple postcards of the High Priestess and of the Death card, which are really cool. Really cool. Just a little kind of want more tarot, show off and share, and a note from Angie thanking me for taking a look at the deck, which I thought was sweet. You also get a cheat sheet. Now, if you followed my channel, you know I'm a big fan of one sheet things. I had something similar to this for myself when I was learning tarot that I, painstakingly created. And I have a bunch of them in the description box for various things. You can see even right now, I have one that's got all of my OMs and my OM keywords and things of that nature in place. I'm a big fan of having a quick reference to information that you might want at your fingertips. And so here we go. It's really lovely. I think this is a really handy thing. Because as you'll see, I think there would be a little bit of a structure to where I would probably ask somebody, and I'm going to have my daughter, I will explain to you, I've already had somebody test it, but I'm going to have my daughter who knows a little bit of tarot. She has a couple decks. She wants to learn tarot. So I'm going to have her try this out and I'll get back with you. But I think if you started out with just working with the deck, then maybe working with the deck and your favorite deck that you want to work with, and then eventually working with the deck that you want to work with and still having this keyword chart here. So it's like it takes you through various stages of learning to read tarot. So I'm a big fan of that. I think that's fantastic. And then there is a simple tarot book, a guidebook. It's not like a wall of text. It's about 129 pages, and there's a lot of white space here, so this is not an overwhelming amount. But what I liked about this, and the person that I have had test this did use this, what I liked was that each page has just 2 simple paragraphs about each of the cards all the way through to help you to get some more information. You have pretty much the same amount of information for the minor cards as well. And then I really liked this section here for new beginners. We have information about the suits and the elements. So we have the cups and some information about the cups and how it corresponds with water. The pentacles, how it corresponds with earth. The swords, how it corresponds with air. Wands, and how it corresponds with fire. And then it has a basic number. These are what the numbers mean, right? Basic idea. And then goes through each one of the numbers and gives the basic idea of what the number is, and then what that might look like with Ace in the Cups, Ace in the Pentacles, Ace in Swords, Ace in Wands, and the Magician, right? And then all the way through, and with the High Priestess, and goes through the cards. Then it goes into the people, and it has each of the people each of the people, each of the court cards, but then it also breaks it down, the page. So we have the page in general, and then the page in the cups, the page of pentacles, page of swords, page of wands. So I think this is, and then it goes into some basic symbols that the Rider-Waite Smith seems to use, such as water and earth, mountains, moons, suns, lemon scots, dogs, and such. So just some key symbols that you might see in the Rider-Waite Smith system. So I think this is a really handy beginning book. Again, it's not going to take the place of a full-fledged guidebook, but it's also not going to be as overwhelming as a full-size guidebook just to get started, because I do think this is something that's geared towards people who just are getting started. So that brings us to the deck itself, right? So the deck itself has this great sun here, or it looks like a sun radiating out in blue. And then it has very clearly color-coded, much as we saw here in, right, the cheat sheet. The major arcana is white with a blue band at the bottom, and then you have very definite, you know, suits here to be able to see. Now, this is what I did, because obviously, I'm not obviously, that sounded really ridiculous, but clearly if you followed my channel, you know I'm not a beginning tarot person. I have been reading tarot for a long time. I teach tarot. I read tarot professionally. This deck is not geared towards me. It's geared towards a beginning tarot reader. So I thought, for a good, you know, give you guys a good idea of how this might work, I thought I would get someone who doesn't know anything about tarot. So I got someone to look at this who had, I think I've given him maybe 2 readings, just two quick 3-card readings, and they were not in-depth readings. They were just kind of a quick question and a quick answer. And that's about the extent of his experience with tarot. He knows what tarot is. He understands the basic constructs of tarot. He thinks it's pretty cool, but it's not something that he's interested in. He's not somebody who would ever pay to get a reading. He's not anybody who would ever buy a tarot deck even to start to learn how to read tarot. And he certainly doesn't know any of the meanings of the tarot cards. So he was a good, and maybe even a harder sell than some, because he doesn't even have that desire, where some people, you know, would have the desire to do that and be excited about it. So I used him as a guinea pig, handed him the deck, and kind of explained, asking a question, which he knew, that kind of basic stuff like that. But and so he picked a question, and he did 2 3-card readings on the same question. I don't know why, but he did. And then he did a 3-card reading on another question. So he did 3 3-card readings, and they were really interesting. The first one was a really great one. It was all major arcana. It was really clear to his question to the answer of the thing. It was very clear. And especially with the keywords and things on here, it made it even more clear. It was like a really kind of a fun first 3 cards to lay on the table. The second one was a little more confusing for him, but he did use a yes and no question, which are, in my opinion, a little bit harder, especially if you don't know anything about tarot, to decide, did that say yes or did that say no? But he did work it out. And then the third one he did real well. He was starting to get the groove of it. And then I took the cards and I was shuffling them, and so I laid out a 5-card spread for myself and was just looking at it myself, and he leaned over and basically interpreted the reading for me. I didn't ask him to, but he just did. And he pretty much came up with what I was already thinking in my head by looking at the keywords and looking at the cards and the basic suits. He did look up some things in the book when he was doing his readings and things, but he just kind of leaned over and looked at the basic keywords and stuff, and he came up with not just saying keyword, 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 but strung it together in kind of a message that is exactly what I would have gone into more detail, but he came up with this similar response or answer or message that I was thinking about in my head. So in my opinion, I thought that was a really good, successful trial for just about literally a half an hour of playing with the deck. He thought the same thing. He thought, you know, that it was very helpful, that it did help him to see what it was. Obviously, we also were looking at, he likes the darkness of light. And so obviously artistic wise and art wise, these were very beautiful, but pulling these versus this, you know, he really would say, oh, that's kind of cool and could kind of get somewhere, but he, you know, didn't know what the meanings of the cards were. Whereas this, he was able to come up with messages, and it kept him thinking, because later on he was kind of coming up with, well, what are some things that you could do questions about and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I thought it was really successful. He thought that it was very helpful and useful, and that gave him enough information to at least come up with some kind of an answer to the question that he had at hand. So that was my experiment with it. As I said, I'm going to, and I don't know why I am shuffling these cards, because obviously we still need to walk through the deck. So I'm going to have to put these obviously back in order. But one nice thing is they're pretty easy to put back in order, because you've got this solid color coordination going on here. Yeah, so I guess we're doing things a little bit backwards. So obviously, you know, if you have your cards here, you've got the Ten of Swords as the worst is over. You've hit rock bottom. Again, this is Rider-Waite-Smith based. So if that's the system, and it is a good system to learn as a base for people, right? If you're learning the Rider-Waite-Smith system, this would be a good example of that. But what's interesting is that rock bottom is hit, and now we've got prosperity coming, and the Ten of Cups, and all of this wonderful things that are coming. Even though it may have been difficult for the person, things are getting better. We can see we've got the air, we've got pentacles, we've got water going on here. We can look those things up. We can look up the numbers, which is what he did. He did look up some of the numbers. He looked, actually, I think this might have been one of them. I can't remember. But he looked up the actual, just straight up the card. He also looked up then the number separately and the suit separately, just to kind of get a feel for it. And, you know, he came up with some good, really good readings for himself with it. So I thought that was pretty cool research. And then, like I said, I then laid down, now, he didn't go into the positions and things, because these actually have position, fire, air, water, and earth, and he didn't go into the positions. He just kind of read this, oh, that's going on in the middle, and then he read it around, which is something I also do. I also do that, but he just kind of read it around and kind of came up with a message. And again, it was, you know, a concise version of what I was thinking about in my head. Again, you can clearly see we've got pentacles, we've got water, we've got one fire, we've got two of these. Okay, well, maybe we should pay attention to those two. So yeah, it was a fun experience, because you know, you have the information on the card. You've got the keywords that you need. It's, you know, it's fairly unobtrusive compared to some oracle decks. I think that she did a good job of integrating it on the bottom here. Then she puts on the cards itself, which again, we're going to look at these, but on the cards where there are key symbols, such as the Fence of Swords, she highlights the fact of that and what that could stand for. So a crown in the Queen of Swords, standing for mastery. There's a woman on the Queen of Swords, receptive energy. That's a little bit, I mean, that is true. But of course, then the air itself is not just intellect, but it is also forward pushing, yang, active energy in the suit. So we have a receptive active card, but that would be getting a little bit much, right, for new beginners. So then you have a sword here, which is something you often see. So yeah, so that's the basic thing is you can recognize a Rider-Waite-Smith here. You've got the towers, you've got the wild dog, you've got the tame dog, you've got the moon, you've got keywords there. Clearly, what is the number? What is the name of it? And you can, most of the cards you can recognize very clearly the Rider-Waite-Smith. If you set that next to the Rider-Waite-Smith, you would be able to recognize those basic symbols. And of course, many of the decks today are based off of the Rider-Waite-Smith, and so those same symbols will often crop up, maybe a little bit differently, but they'll still crop up. So it was fun. It was fun to check it out and try it on somebody who didn't have any idea about tarot, and he came up with some quick successful, what I consider to be successful messages out of using the cards. So now that I've mixed the cards back up again, give me a minute while I go put them back into order so that we can walk through them and talk about them. So I'll be back. Okay, they are all now back in order again, so that we can take a look at this. I think that's the first time that I have shuffled the deck after I put it all back in order to then be able to do the walkthrough. You know, things happen, things happen. Never a dull moment. So, I will say it's very easy to put this back in order because of the bright colors for the suits. Love it. So this is obviously going to be a relatively quick flip through. We're not really assessing this for art, right? Or this is a study deck. This is a deck to help somebody. So let's just look at the components real quick. For any major kind of symbols, such as the faithful dog or the young adventurer, she kind of points out what they are and what those might mean. And then she has keywords: innocence and enthusiasm, your journey has begun. She has the number, and then she has the name of the card in the major arcana. So we have a youthful energy with a dog companion. We have a John Travolta, I believe, for the magician. So we have the 4 elements. We also have the lemon Scott. She talks about this infinity symbol and what that might mean. The book goes over, of course, each of the elements. Self-confidence, empowered creativity. We have the beautiful moon for intuition. Again, woman for receptive energy. Secrets, mysteries, wisdom from intuition. The pregnant women, of course, every empress is not pregnant, but there are quite a few of them. That idea of pregnancy, not pregnancy, but pregnancy, like a pregnant silence, that kind of weightedness and about to give birth and creation, these kinds of energies. Fertility, creation, and abundant sensuality. We have the king, or the emperor, which we've talked about. We have the bishop here as a religious figure, conventional wisdom, tradition, and conformity. We have the sun and then the union of a couple, choices and balance, love and partnership. I do like that the choices are there, as well as it being a love card for some people. Quickly moving forward, take action, confidence and ambition. I do think these are good keywords for the Rider-Waite-Smith cards. So again, we have the woman, the lion with courage, the infinity sign, inner strength and unconditional self-love. I love him leaning on the back with the lamp for on the light pole and the lamp for wisdom. So definitely a modern feel to the images. Gambling and good fortune. I guess, I mean, technically, I guess the Wheel of Fortune can be for gambling. It's not something I've ever used the card for, so that one's a little interesting. Balance scales for fairness, decisions and consequences, justice, doing what is right. We have the halo for sacrifice, a reversal, and so on and so forth. Again, very clean lines. That's the whole point of this, is the fact that this is just simple images with some key symbols and then having the keywords right on the card. We have the angel for temperance. We have excessive indulgence, obsession, and addiction in the devil, temptation, bondage. Of course, my keywords for the devil are abdication of authority and abdication of responsibility, or abdication of power and abdication of responsibility. This is, you know, Rider-Waite-Smith. The sudden crisis, unwanted change, upheaval, and destruction. We have the star card. It's a key. We often see water, we often see earth in balance, and we often see stars. The moon, we have the tame dog, the wild dog, and then the moon itself. And the towers are there. Unfortunately, we often see babies, unfortunately. As you know how I feel about that. I like this outline of the baby better than the six-pack naked babies. The sounding of a horn for a wake-up call. This is a trumpet, obviously, again, a modern rendition. And people kind of rising up, although they look like they're all excited. Beautiful laurel leaf, again, with the idea of success and completion. And so that's our major arcana. Again, I think this is less about the image, right? I mean, it's more about the symbols that you might expect to see in the card than the actual silhouettes there. But I think that they, you know, the keywords and things work really well for Rider-Waite-Smith. And so then that brings us to the minor cards, which we're going to just kind of pull through here quickly. We have the Sun, the Ace of Wands, the urge to create new projects or ideas, planning for the future with the Two of Wands, working with others, optimism for success, waiting for future results to come to you. I like the binoculars. We have good times shared and public celebrations with the Four of Wands. We talked about competition and conflict. The Victory Triumph March. We kind of see a victory march here going on. We have self-defense, standing your ground, which I love. We have that sudden change in news that comes with the Eight of Wands in the Rider-Waite-Smith. We have the Nine of Wands, making that boundaries, making your final stand. We've got the weight of the Rider-Waite-Smith, Ten of Wands. And then with the page, a rebellious child and the spark of a new idea. For me, it's new. It's initiating energy of creativity more so, but again, I'm guessing that's probably Rider-Waite-Smith. Let's just take a peek here. Creative, enthusiastic, confident youth. Yeah, I'm not, to be honest, the rebellious child thing, I don't really see that as much there as, but the spark of the new idea, I definitely do. I apologize for Belle. Charismatic person, going for desires, passionate creator, courage and self-assurance. We have the bold, assertive leader. I don't really work with the court cards very often as actual people, so I don't see them as much that way. I see them more as the energy movement, but I think it would get you a star. I think that you have the mastery, the active energy, and the fire spirit, receptive mastery. You have action, could have been maybe the horse for movement and action here. And sort of this kind of first step energy of the page might go be a good addition to the court cards. Mental clarity with the Ace of Swords, stalemate, negotiations. These are pretty common. Betrayal and grief and heartbreak. Again, Rider-Waite-Smith. Meditation, I love that being there. Rest and recovery. Self-destruction, victory through deceit. What's the cost, right? Recovery from a hard times and moving on and starting over. I know I shouldn't be doing all these. Powerless and feeling trapped here. Anxiety, depression, nightmares, insomnia. Again, this is pretty common for Rider-Waite-Smith. A person stabbed as a painful ending. The worst is over and hitting rock bottom. Obviously, if you know me, that is not how I see the Ten of Swords. But it is true to Rider-Waite-Smith, which is what this system is teaching. A talkative child learning the truth. Fearless crusader, agree. Fairness and autonomy, insightful. Truth and fairness, an analytical person. I think those work really well. So then we have the cups, new love and attraction. Let's see, is there abundance, new love and attraction, romance and love, a partnership connection. I do like that that's added in. Shared joy, friendship, celebrating. You know, 4 cups again is something I don't read that way, but that is correct for the Rider-Waite-Smith. The broken cups, the whole cups, hope for the future. Dwelling on the past, grief and disappointment. Gifts and simple pleasures, happy memories and reunions. Get the children for innocence. Overflowing cups with too many options. Wishful thinking, illusion, and temptation. Here we have the turning point and a voluntary withdrawal. Under the light of the moon, heading down up onto the mountain paths. The 9 of Cups, which is the wish fulfillment, and the 10 of Cups for family, contentment, happiness, and security. And then I love this little boy here, a well-loved child learning about love, your prince or princess charming, following your heart and dreams, your counseling and therapy, compassionate person, forgiveness and trust, and a kind, loving person. And then we get to the greens for the pentacles, material gain, making a choice, juggling resources, teamwork and collaboration. Again, you know, I'm not a fan of the hoarding and greed, but I do agree with the seeking long-term security. This may not be a time to be putting your resources out. And again, not that this is wrong. I just don't, you know me, I don't read them that way. We have financial trouble, isolation, and insecurity with the 5 of Pentacles. Giving and receiving financial prosperity. Long-term project, patience, and commitment. Work enjoyment, the process of mastery for the 8 of Pentacles. Self-sufficiency and financial independence with the 9 of Pentacles. We don't have what we normally see, which is a woman and a bird. We just have the peacock here. So that's interesting because most of these, I think that with the symbols, there are symbols that you're likely going to see on the cards. Even though these are modern sense, you're going to be able to actually recognize some of these to the, especially Rider-Waite-Smith deck. Whereas the peacock, not as much. Certainly this one you will, the 10 of Pan. I like the legacy being in there, investments, retirement. It's that generational thing. We have studious child learning about money, a methodical person, patience and hard work, homesteading skills, a generous supporter. That's a kind of strange term, homesteading skills, but I mean, I would say that she's really connected with the land. A successful advisor, stability, and generosity with the King of Pentacles. So I do still think perhaps, and people struggle a lot with the court cards, and I think these might still be a little bit of a struggle if somebody who didn't know the cards whatsoever. Patience and hard work would make sense. I think the kings and the queens, stability and generosity, I think would make sense. I think this might still be a little bit difficult if this came up randomly. But again, there is more to this, right? That's just to get you started. And then she does, let's just take a look at the Queen of Pentacles. Has the best garden of all of the queens, where everything is constantly in bloom. She has created abundance through daily discipline and a healthy approach to life. She loves nature and is a resourceful manager of everything in her domain. Like all of the court cards, this card may represent an actual person in your life, specifically a nurturing person, male or female, who has a loving, gentle, and wise demeanor. If not someone in your life, it may represent a role you are currently playing or are ready to play. So it definitely keeps the court cards more personality based versus I do read them as more energetically based. How is the energy moving in the spread? But I think that in terms of basic Rider-Waite-Smith, this is reflective of what you would see. So I'm going to zoom out there for a minute. So all in all, again, I probably wouldn't take this as your only resource. This is giving you keywords and some base understandings. And we might look at this and say, well, yeah, you know, that's pretty obvious. But again, if you look at somebody who has never picked up tarot or has very limited knowledge of tarot, this is going to be a really great way to get started. I'm actually a big fan of this. Again, having been able to watch my friend pick it up and in a half an hour, give some pretty good readings. Like he got some good answers for himself. And when I was doing my reading and he leaned over and kind of said, you know, kind of read through the cycle of the cards, he would pretty much kind of came up with and put it into like a succinct message, very close to what I was thinking about. So it's that idea of the proof is in the pudding. Is that what they say? That was really helpful for somebody who had never picked up a tarot deck with the intention of reading any cards. And at the end of it, you know, he did say, you know, I just asked him, do you think this would be helpful? And he definitely did feel like this would be helpful. And he was able to get actual message. In fact, later on, he was asking what about different kinds of questions that you could ask. It definitely piqued his interest and got that sort of ball rolling. And so that, I think, is a very valuable resource. And again, I think it would also be useful being left in this, which is probably what I will tell Katie to do. Well, both, because I think at the beginning, it would be good just to use this and lay your cards out, not have anything to worry about. Don't go looking things up. Just get some quick messages, right? But then as you progress a little bit, I do think being able to pull some random cards with a deck that you love, because Katie already has some decks that she really loves. So she could get her a deck that she loves, look at the cards, get her message based off of the images and the basic, you know, the hits that she might get out of it. And then because these are in order, she can go to the wands, pull out the Seven of Wands, right? Go to the Pentacles, pull out the Six of Pentacles, go to the Magician, and pull out the Magician. And then she would have right in front of her the visual representation of a deck that she's in love with, right? That she's working with. But she can start to see, well, okay, well, this is a major arcana. Very clearly, we've got Earth and Fire that's here. This is telling me to stand my ground. I might be under attack, so I better defend what's important to me. Six of Pentacles, you know, giving generously, giving and receiving, this idea of financial responsibility in the way that we're connected, you know, empowered creativity, self-confidence. So now she's got another layer to add to what she picks up visually from reading the cards. Then she's got some keywords that she can use. So I think that I would probably, when I give these to her, and I'm going to, and I will check back with you, but I think I'll tell her, you know, take a week and just use these cards and kind of make note of your readings. And then maybe take another read and use them in conjunction with a Shadowscape or a deck that she wants to use it with, and see how it works for her. I think that would be a great way to make use of two different levels of ways that you could make use of these particular cards. So who are these for? I really do think these are for somebody really new to tarot, and or somebody who may have worked with tarot for a while, but just, you know, doesn't tend to hasn't quite picked up on the meanings, gets maybe a little bit frustrated because there are a lot of cards to learn from, and wanting to just be able to read without going back and forth to books for a little bit. This could be helpful. But I'm pretty clear for me that this is geared towards a brand new person to tarot, and I think that it succeeds very well in that in that category for getting somebody started down the road of tarot. So I really enjoyed checking this out. I had a lot of fun watching somebody who would never pick up a tarot deck pick it up and actually get some good, interesting, because he was sharing them out loud, and so I was able to hear him really come up with some great messages for himself, and then picking up on the messages for myself. So it was a lot of fun. So I appreciate Angie Green letting me take a chance to look at this. And I know that many people who watch this channel are further along on their tarot journey, but there's a lot of people that do also come to review channels and tutorial channels because they are fresh into working with tarot, and so this may be helpful to them. So I appreciate you all taking the time to watch, and I will put a link below to the Kickstarter. But as I said, it sounds like she intends to continue to sell this past the Kickstarter, which has already funded.